have a reluctant writer at home, perhaps you've tried setting up different activities to make it fun and playful, and you're just getting the same reaction, that they don't want to do it. Either they get angry or tearful or frustrated. Could be a whole host of things. Well, there are 4 different reasons why children might not want to write, and I'm hopefully going to unpick those for you and give you some strategies and things that you can try at home so you can support your little one to learn to have a love for writing. So those 4 things. First of all, we're going to start by talking about the commitment element of it. So quite often with our younger children, they see writing and pictures and things and they can see it in their head, but then when they actually do it and put it on paper, it doesn't look quite how they imagined it was going to look, and that can become quite frustrating for them. This is completely different to tracing books and things. That is a whole nother video which I'll get into another day. But it actually can sometimes be the commitment of putting something down on paper and it being wrong, or it not looking how they imagined, that can be quite off-putting to young children. So there are a couple of things that you can try which can hopefully help with this. Things that enables your child to have a go at making marks in a playful, explorative way, but then they're able to get rid of it again. So something like, if you go in the pound shop or those bargain shops, you can get little A4 whiteboards. They're brilliant. With a dry white pen, they can have a good go. Whether it's drawing, whether it's dots and lines and circles, it doesn't matter. The fact they're having a go at putting pen to something to make those marks is absolutely brilliant. And of course you'll be piling on those praise and telling them how beautiful those circles are and that you can see dots and lines and all sorts. So that is fantastic. Another alternative is, this is by Learning Resources. It's like a little plastic wallet that you can actually put paper in or any sheets in or anything like that, so that little ones can draw or make marks or whatever on there. Again, I wouldn't recommend tracing sheets for children to copy. I'm not a big fan of those. I think there's better ways you can teach, much more effective ways you can teach your children to write, but you could put in some sort of paper, whatever, just to make it more fun. And these can be a really handy tool because of course then you can take them out. It means that you can also take bits and pieces outside with you too. Or perhaps using something like chalks, big chunky chalks outside on the floor where they can do lots of mark making, but they know that they can wash it away again. So it's removing that commitment of pen to paper. You know, once I make that mark, it's stuck there. Having whiteboards, having chunky pens, chunky chalks, something like that that can be wiped away is really effective. Another favourite of mine is having a baking tray or a shallow tray with some sand or some flour in, and letting them use their finger or a paintbrush and having a go at drawing and making marks again in there, because they can shuffle it and it's all gone and no one needs to know if it didn't look quite how they wanted it to look. It's absolutely fine. So you're removing that commitment element. The same with using painting with water outside with some big chunky paintbrushes. The sun dries it out, it's all gone and nobody knows any wiser. So trying something like that, if you feel that that's possibly one of the reasons why your child is reluctant to make marks, it's the commitment side of thing. Have a go at perhaps investing in some of those resources that will enable them to get rid of the evidence as such. If you want to do keep some sort of evidence, you can always take photos of them. If you've got an older child and school are wanting to see things like homework and that, you can always take a photo and then they can wipe it away again. You can do it on your phone and email that back to school. So that's always an option for you. The second thing for writing is sometimes the motivation to want to write, to actually want to pick up a pen and have a go, basically. Like, why, when there's loads of other amazing toys that I want to be playing with? And it can come at different stages, of course. I have a 7-year-old and I remember him being like 3 or 4 before he took any sort of interest in picking up a pen or a crayon and having a go. However, I have a 22-month-old, and because he's seen his bigger brother, he started much younger at having a go at making marks. So it really does depend on the child as well, but having something to motivate your child to want to write, to want to put pen to paper as such, can be really, really effective. Now, this is also something I'd like you to get in the habit of, is not always relying on writing or mark making being linked with pen or pencil on paper. There are loads of ways we can do it, like the chalks, like the water brushes outside, loads of things like that. However, sometimes we do want to encourage children to do pen to paper, and a really fun way of doing that is giving them novelty, of using novelty items that really excite children and make them want to make marks. So a couple of things. This is something that I am passionate about and cannot help myself when I go in a pound shop and see a novelty notepad. I mean, who doesn't want to write in an ice cream notepad? Who does, like gaming fans, or a shark notepad? Anything like this, I will always put in my basket just because I think they're so motivating. I mean, I'd much rather write in a shark notepad than on a plain piece of paper, you know? I know what I'd rather write in, so we know what children would as well. So getting in the habit of every so often when you're shopping, like I said, those bargain shops are really great for offering things like this. Just picking up the odd one. You don't have to get one for every theme. Now, because this is something I'm really passionate about, I have got into the habit now of collections. We've got like food-based ones for when we have an ice cream shop. We've had one we have a collection of London resources, so I've got a London notepad. It's nice to build up. So you've got ones for like Easter and Christmas. You can have all sorts of different themes. Just depend on what your budget is and how much you want to spend and how much you're trying to encourage your little one to write. But having things like these for gamers, for excited, and it just encourages them to want to make marks because it's novelty shape. And it's just a bit different, isn't it? So I would find that much more motivating to want to write some notes in there. And it goes the same for your pens and pencils as well. Like I said, I have been collecting these over many years, my years as a teacher and as a parent. So I've got a lovely ice cream pen to go with that. Oh, it's not an ice cream, it's a cupcake. I thought it was an ice cream. So yeah, putting those two together, you know, how exciting is that? Making a little cafe, doing some ice cream writing. I've got a screwdriver one, a rocket one, you know, a carrot one for Easter. Why not? A Coca-Cola one, you know, Coca-Cola, that word that they all think is absolutely brilliant, the Coca-Cola. Having a go at writing with a pen like this is going to be so much fun. Even just writing with a biro instead of a pencil, you know, an adult's pen can be so motivating to a child. So that's, if you are able to invest in just a couple of pieces, particularly if it's linked to your child's interest. If you've got a real space fan, getting them a space pen for £1 or so could be a really big motivator. If you don't have the budget for that, there is an easy way you can do this as well. So this is just a plain piece of paper that I've got, and then as you can see, I've stuck some stickers around the edge, and these are just fruity ones. So if we were doing like a little vegetable market, fruit market, maybe recipe writing, something like that, how much fun would that be, rather than just a plain piece of paper? It's so much more inviting, isn't it? It says to little kids, come and have a go on this, come and do some writing on here. I don't add lines on purpose. We don't want the lines there. We just want it to be a free space for them to make their marks in their own way. So something like that, having, if you've got any kids magazines that have got stickers left over, stick them around the edge of a piece of paper, and ta-da, you've got some novelty paper that's going to be really motivating to get them wanting to write. So think about that motivation, and if there's just a couple of pieces you could get to motivate your child, it's going to be really powerful. You know, imagine giving a child a piece of paper with Paw Patrol around the edge, or I don't know, footballs around the edge, or whatever their interest is. If you can pick up just a couple of pieces, it's going to be much more motivating than just a plain piece of paper. And then we've got our purpose. What is the purpose of me writing? You know, quite often children know, particularly when it comes to homework, things like write a story. Oh, gosh. And I don't know about you, but how intimidating it can sometimes feel being given a blank piece of paper and where to start. You know, if draw me a masterpiece, oh my goodness, I would crumble. And it's the same for our children as well. So sometimes it's about having that purpose. It's very closely linked to that motivation. What's the purpose of me doing this writing? Well, one of my favourite ways to add purpose to a child's writing is role play. So lots of pretend play that encourages children to write as part of their play. So the writing is just sort of weaved into their play. It's not an add-on. So perhaps you're playing cafes and shops, you know, with your novelty pad. You're doing cafes and things like that. You might want a little waiter's pad, or for the waitress or something like that. You go in shopping, so you might want a shopping list. Of course, your list looks very different to something that you would write across. So maybe if you spot any little shopping list, they're really fab to have. Or perhaps you've got a clipboard or a whiteboard, something like that. It's just really good fun to be writing on. Feels a bit different, doesn't it? Maybe you're a car mechanic and you're going to write down what you need to do to the car. Anything like that that just encourages children to want to make marks as part of their play. So one of my favourite things to add is using these sort of star stickers that look a lot like what you get in shops for adding prices to things, or some sort of post-it notes, sticky notes. Can be really motivating. Yes, it's a novelty of getting to write on these, but also it's writing for a purpose. I'm making a shop. I need to add the prices to the shoes or the vegetables. I'm going to use this, and that's going to be so much more motivating. So once again, I feel like I'm telling you to spend lots of money in this video, and I really don't mean to. It's just getting in the habit of just getting a few key pieces and using them to really pull out the love of writing for your child. So we're really trying to spark them. So there's a few bits there that you might want to try. So adding writing, making it part of your role play. If you've got a play kitchen, popping in a notepad, popping in a diary, a calendar, you know, where do we write around the house? How could we add that into their play so that they can see that we write regularly? We write for a reason, just the way that we read as well. I will write a shopping list. Okay, granted, I do it on my phone most days, but we write for a reason. I might write out a telephone number on a post-it note that I don't want to forget. I might write myself a note on the calendar. They see that us doing that, let's add it into their place so they can do the same. Shops are great for that. Here's a little example. My little boy used to be a massive fan of tools. So we had a couple of tool pens, and then picking up these in Screwfix or Argos. I mean, it's so motivating to want to write in a page that's got little squares and things on it, an actual real form rather than that blank piece of paper. You know, that's got to give you purpose, because I need to write it down to take their order. Or perhaps if you've got, if you're like me and have a lot of deliveries and get a lot of sorry we missed you cards, grab them. Ask the postie if they'll leave you a few extra for your little one to do some writing. Set up a post office. Use some little spare envelopes and any junk mail that you've got, and let little ones write on them, fill in the boxes and all sorts. It's so motivating. It's giving them a purpose too. And there's a little calendar notepad I picked up in a bargain shop as well, that you could add bits and pieces on. If they're playing schools or something like that, they could have a go at filling that in. So it's really giving them motivation and a purpose to want to write. You're encouraging it to want to write, rather than thinking, I'm just doing this for the sake of it. I'm just copying out these letters for the sake of it. And I feel like that's what tracing is all about. Also, another little trick I have is this little caddy. Don't know, cleaning caddy or something like that. Again, the pound shop. You can see it's well loved. It's been broken many times. For taking things outside. There's no reason why writing has to happen just indoors. It can happen outside. Like I said, it's not just sitting at a table, pen to paper. It can be taken outside as well. So having some chunky chalks in there, having a novelty notepad, having some binoculars and things that are going to encourage, maybe you could have ones with leaves around the edge or weather symbols around the edge, or I don't know, whatever you're playing, or bikes or anything like that. Having some novelty notepads, having some maybe whiteboards and tickets and all that sort of stuff. And then you can pick that up and take it out with you. So your child has resources, writing materials and tools to hand, so they're not breaking off from their play to come back in the house to find a pen. They've got things then. It's going to be much more encouraging for them to want to write if it's there waiting for them. It's almost like an invitation, isn't it? So could you fill up a little caddy or a little box so that when you are playing outside, you take it out with you, and it will just become part of their play and give it a much more of a purpose and a reason to do some writing. And then finally, it could come down to your child's physical ability. Because if you think about our lovely children, as their hands are developing, there's lots going on, those lovely little muscles. And before a child is able to use a pen, hold a pen and use a pen with control and accuracy, they need to have those gross motor skills, those big motor skills, core strength and all those muscles in place, and have control of their big bodies from climbing and bicycle riding, all that sort of stuff, before they're able to hold a pen. Now we unpick this into great detail. We have our pre-writing skills course on our website. Please do go and have a look. It is really useful. I break down the 6 essential movements your children need to be able to write, and we do those playfully on a big scale and a small scale. And again, it's all playful, it's all giving them a reason, and it links to their interest as well, and I'll show you how to do that. So come and join the online course if you would like to support your little one to be able to use things like pens and pencils, but also scissors and tools, and be able to use them with control and accuracy, and confidence is the big thing. Please do come and have a look, because it could be a physical ability, physically struggling to hold the pen to be able to make the marks, and we can help them by starting really big, and eventually we will get them smaller and smaller so that they are controlled movements, so that when they start school they have beautiful control and confidence when it comes to writing. So I hope that helps. We have unpicked there the 4 different reasons why your child might be a reluctant writer. As always, with anything, it's appreciating that our children develop at their own pace and their own ability, and so we don't want to add pressure to that. So doing it through play is always the most effective. Keeping it playful, keeping it light-hearted. When they want to do it, invite them to play. And as always, when you spot those beautiful lines and those dots and those circles, pile on the praise as well. It really will motivate them to want to keep trying. Head on over to the Play Hooray website, have a look at our pre-writing skills. We've also got one for early maths too that might help you. And as always, happy playing.